pay rapt attention, and that's that. Okay, I'm going to ride it home. This is the last assembly we're going to do today. This is an 1¼ Febco 860. The only reason we show you this one is it's atypical, it's over-engineered, and the rebuild of the relief valve is a bitch if you do it wrong. I mean, any of them are problematic if you do it wrong. This one will haunt you if you do it wrong. I'm going to start off with just your basic disassembly of the checks. The checks are not that unique. They come apart pretty standard. The problem with the relief valve is it doesn't use just a simple O-ring seal. It uses a combination of slip discs and friction, and you have to take it apart in such a way that you have to do some of it while it's still on the assembly, and the other portion of it while it's off the assembly. And if you get it wrong and you're not sitting there with a handy-dandy bench vise mounted to your truck or something, you got to reassemble the thing. And if you don't get it quite tight enough, that's problematic. If you get it too tight, you rip the diaphragm, then you're back at ground zero. So Richard always lets me do this one because he's that guy that tears the diaphragm and starts all over, and I've just been lucky. And that's the best way I have to put it, is I get lucky with these things. They're good, they're dependable. They're just entirely over-engineered. Somebody was sitting there going, hey, we can do this and we can do this. If a little bit's good, a whole lot more is better. Okay. Access cover. Since Richard's not going to play cameraman for me, he's printing your certificates. I'll just talk you through it. Spacer. Directional. It only fit one way. It looked okay. Watch me lie to you. It should only fit one way, but you can stick it in there like I shouldn't have. But it will interfere with the check valve. So, yeah, it's still going there. So, spacer. And like I say, I'll try to do this one like I really do it in the field. I lay everything out oriented. So there was my spacer. Then we've got a #1 check valve. It just pulls out. Component, full component. And #2 check valve. Just pull it out with a screwdriver. Now, full disclosure, this is nice and well lubricated for the class. So it's coming apart easier than they do in the field. I mean, I'm not doing anything different than I do in the field, but it just takes me longer to get it apart. So #1 and #2. That's everything for the checks. Rebuild of the checks. One screw is going to get your poppet disassembled. Remember this. I'm doing this one from memory. I didn't rehearse this one, guys. So. Seat O-ring. And I can't remember if these twist together or pop apart. Do they twist? He's so user-friendly. It kind of sort of maybe comes apart this way. There we go. So, quarter turn. Check cage, check spring, poppet, and poppet seat. Check that, make sure you don't have any nicks, dings, anything screwed up. All the coils on your spring. And that your cage is basically in one piece, and this guide here is not worn out, nor the guide on your poppet worn out.
Except there's some for cracks too, though, the toys for cracking. You really snap together and top of it.
Oh, okay, Richard just whispered in my ear, if you didn't hear him, that make sure you check it for cracks around the upper ring here, where they snap together, they're notorious for cracking. I got a gentleman in the front row nodding along with me like he plays with these all the time, so maybe I should have you up here. Like I say, I just get stupid lucky taking these things apart. I'm not necessarily any good at it. A rubber kit for a relief valve is going to give you a seat O-ring, pocket rubber. They're pretty sparse on the rubber, sparse by design for the rubber on your relief, for your check valves, excuse me. And your trusty pick.
You work on the other side of the unit to see what's going on.
You know, the only reason they could see anything you were doing is you had a good cameraman. I'm just saying. You can throw rocks. I know, we're an old married couple, but I get the house of the divorce, right? Okay, pop it. For the fast
one. Cars, we're good.
I don't want your cars, they're Chrysler. Yuck. Anyway, for field repair, if you don't have parts in your hand, you can always flip this. It's supposed to be a temporary repair until you get a rubber kit in. Okay? Pop the cover back on, put the screw in it. Okay, I like his car, but he's got a loud exhaust on it. I'm all about performance and power, but I like sleepers. I don't want to hear it coming. Richard likes to be heard.
Air in, air out.
Air in, air out. Sound baffles. It works. Anyway, if you really want me to bore you with number 2, it disassembles and reassembles the same identical way. Quarter turn, seat O-ring. So that takes care of our checks. Now, I'm going to get this thing far enough away from my face that I quit blowing out. When I say you got to pay attention to what you're doing when it comes to the relief valve on these, it's got this big barrel head here. Now, this one's been Hollywooded up so we can demo it easy. But the first thing you have to do before you attempt to rebuild the relief valve, the only reason we take this apart is to clean or rebuild the relief valve. While it's still attached, get on here and crack this. Don't take it off, just crack it, okay? That's important because you're not going to be able to hang on to it any way conveniently in order to do what you got to do with it off the assembly. So you got this cracked. You can, in theory, turn it by hand. It's not removed. You're good to go.
The reason for that thing torques 35 foot-pounds.
I was going to give him the technical spec of really freaking tight, but and like that 375 I took apart earlier, it's not a nice thick rubber on rubber or flat rubber seal that we're making there. When you've got no ring, they seal up real nice. Typically when you've got flat rubber, you put it a little bit tighter and it seals up real nice. This thing's got slip rings in it. And I'll do my best to show you all the ins and outs. And like I say, I'm working in front of my peers, so if you guys have got anything you can add that I'm leading you astray or not demonstrating, chime in. I've never been one to say I do this better than anybody else. I was just the one dumb enough to say, hey, you want to come teach a class with me? Okay, you're going to pay me?
In other words, I'm afraid to say, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. Yes, I do. At least I think I do. Maybe I do. You know what? If I don't know what I'm doing, it's his fault because he taught me. Okay, this is a spring-loaded relief valve that will come apart as you take it apart. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so this one doesn't even snap in for the seat. The only thing that holds this seat in is they tell you to put a light coating of grease on here and set this in. I don't know, can you guys see that on camera? If I had a cameraman, you know, it'd be helpful, but I don't. Okay, so this seat literally sets inside the unit. And it fell out as I was taking it apart, so I just wanted to, the instructions tell you, just put a light coating of grease on both sides of this little washer, and I mean paper thin. So a little bit of grease there, a little bit of grease here, set it into the assembly, and as they say, the grease should hold it. Okay. Then we get to this lovely little relief valve spring. It's got all its coils. But you can't just take this and pull it apart. If you did, oops, big mistake. This is where that whole nut comes into play. Where are we at? I'm gonna work down here so I'm consistent. Okay. All right. Unscrew your nut. And it's like Christmas. Stuff can just go flying. First thing you need to note is there's going to be a friction ring in here. Okay? You'll get new friction rings in the kit, but there's a whole bunch of parts that you wouldn't normally see in a relief valve, so lay them out by the numbers. Ring, friction ring. Now this whole assembly pushes through. Okay? So in the grand scheme of things, that goes there, but whatever mantra works for you, there's another friction ring in here, and the cover. Now we're all the way back to the diaphragm. And it's not even a one-piece diaphragm, it's 3 separate pieces in here. So now, we've got an Allen head in here. And as I so cavalierly pointed out to Richard, the appropriate size Allen wrench helps. Okay. One thing to note, this thing will leak if you don't get this together tight enough. Okay. Now it's hard to demo everything, so I'm just going to set it down in my little ordered mess. Stem. Flower petal. Back of the stem. Front of the stem. Shaking cone. Seed. Okay, can you guys see all that mess I just laid out as I went apart? That's what I'm saying. This thing is its own special kind of nightmare. Because basically at this point, all I'm going to do is take my rubber kit out and play eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to change this one with this one, this one with this one, this one, and this one. That's the only way I can keep this thing straight. I don't even have names for all the parts they put in this particular relief valve. But if you go back and compare it to that 375, we had 2 pieces of plastic, 1 screw, and a flat washer, accomplishing the same thing as 3 pieces of rubber, 3 pieces of plastic, 2 friction rings, and a brass nut. So like I say, they accomplished the same thing, they just really decided to over-engineer this one. A couple of things to note on this. We've got rubber to rubber seals. We've got a unit that has no O-rings, but it's got a screw going all the way through it. So this thing relies on taking every one of these components, mashing them together tight enough that you get a watertight seal. And if you don't get everything tight, it tight without breaking the plastic, then it's going to leak. And you've got so many leak points, it's really hard sometimes to determine where you're leaking from. And you've got loose parts. Your little nut here is not captive, so it will run away with you. So don't lose him. I just stick him on there. So, back together. And if I haven't lost my mind, this is unidirectional. You can go either way. So it's not directional rubber at this point.
Just take a half step to your left. You're working right behind it, Lisa. There you go, perfect.
Okay. See, you totally disrupted me. Now I'm done. It's over.
You want a cameraman? You got one.
A good cameraman would have moved and accommodated my work zone. So what you're telling me is I wanted a good cameraman and I got you. You did it. You blew my train of thought. I don't remember which direction this goes now.
It goes like that.
We hope.
What's the worst that happen?
I put it together wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last time. Yep, goes that way. Guys, I mean, I'm not even trying to be a smart ass. Sometimes you just stand there and you figure it out as you go. He'll tell you, you access the instructions as a last resort. I'm that guy that knows if I'm going out in the field to fix one of these, I read them before I go. I'm kind of an instruction-centric guy. I read them. So, flower petal. I always think of this thing as a flower. I know it's girly, but the flowers are up, so it goes in. And my girlfriend misses me. At least that's what I hope so. There, she told me to go away. I do not have a boyfriend.
She's not to tell you.
Okay. Nut. Why is it I'm always the one that gets heckled by the crowd? Huh. What'd they say? Okay, so Allen wrench. Right there. Was that weird? Anyway. What?
That bottom of that 957 felt like it was maybe 2 right.
And I've never seen a metric socket or Allen head in one of these, so
I didn't think it was.
I just had it says too small. Okay. So I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this, but I just go together, and when it gets hard to turn, I mean, when I can't just easily turn it, it's there. I mean, that's it. I mean, I kind of feel the arms here torque a little with my fingers. And if you go, it's one of those things where if I go any farther, I'm going to snap this thing off. So it's there. You got to get it that tight just to establish all the seals that are required on this, okay? Now, this is assembled. Friction rings. Put the first one in your housing. Thread this bad boy through. Okay. Get this to lay down as flat as you can. Unfortunately, what I can't show you is on a brand new one, it doesn't have all the nice folds this one's achieved from being installed. It comes a little bit flat. Okay, so we're tucking it through, we're shaping it down. You got your other friction ring. The friction rings are important because you have to create a watertight seal here, but it's got to slip enough that when we tighten this all down to achieve that watertight seal, without the friction rings, you tear the rubber. So the other thing you want to do is run this down hand tight, not holding on to this. If this turns, let it turn. The reason being, if you hang on to it, you can roll a fold into that little rubber pedal, and it'll leak. So it's just hand tight, as tight as I can get it by hand out of the unit. One thing, you got your sensing line O-ring here. This one stays in. In the field, it'll probably stay in, needs to be replaced. Again, just a little blob of grease, set it in there, it'll stay put. We've got grease on that, which is our relief valve seat. So it'll stay. Mine's actually just laying in there, so I'm going to chase it in with the spring. Now, this is where Richard starts cussing, and I always get lucky. Because you've kind of got to accomplish two things at once. There's a lip that diaphragm goes into on the back of this cover. As you bring them together, you have to make sure it gets there. By his own admission, Richard will tell you he fights those things to no end. Even with new rubber, I've always been fortunate enough somehow that they go together for me.
But wherever did you not tighten that up unless you know that bead is in that groove? You would trash that diaphragm.
Yeah, I mean, literally,
One-shot deal.
the best I can tell you as far as a gauge to make sure it's there is squeeze it by hand, and if you can't get down to maybe a 1/16 of an inch gap, if not less, you don't have it in there. Then I run everything down by hand where I can. The other thing I always had a problem with when I first started, I was using standard size ratchets, and I was over torquing everything. And I mean, I still carry standard size tools. When I'm doing little stuff like this, I find a quarter-inch ratchet is my best friend. And I rarely ever go full fist on it. I mean, I'll snug things up, but it just keeps me from over torquing things. I over greased them, I over torqued them. So really, there's that.
Shit didn't fall apart.
Shit didn't fall apart, that's for sure, but maybe I'm the odd guy. I always figure, hopefully, whatever I'm working on, I get to have that job again someday, so I'm gonna be the one taking it apart. And if I'm not the one taking it apart, I don't want to be the guy that's, the guy that had to take it apart's cussing. So checks. Number 2 first. In. There's no splines or alignment on these. They're just in and press them in. I forgot to do something, but I promise not to totally forget it. It's just poor teaching on my part because I'm doing it disjointed. Okay. Shouldn't have to force anything together, so. Having said that, let me get my big pliers out and push.
One in checks ain't seized.
What?
One in checks ain't seized. The test cocks are open, right?
Yeah. Two is, one's fighting me. Okay. The cover, can't keep it on the wrong way. Reason being there's a ridge in there. I was always worried about that, but I proved that to myself in the last class. The one thing I want to get back to, I'm going to just drop these in, guys. So we're going to say that I've got this all run down nice and tight, because it's pretty obvious we all take the covers off these things all the time. What I forgot to do is I ran this down as tight as I could, finger tight, while I had it off the assembly. That was to get everything good and tight, or I shouldn't say good and tight, snug. Because what I want to accomplish here now is I have to achieve a watertight seal here, but the diaphragm is under a spring load, so it doesn't want to turn anymore. But I need to get probably
35-pound torque.
Like, okay, I got to get 35 pounds of torque on there. Anybody carry a torque wrench with them to work on backflow preventers? I got to get this good and snug. But I want to get it good and snug with as little movement as I can, because I'm literally taking that diaphragm and I'm going to, the slip rings are there. In theory, they let everything slip. You don't move that rubber. Truth be, you move that rubber a little bit. So the tight, if I can get this nice and tight, movement it just a little bit, we're golden. And in the real world, I kind of get a little worried because I'm getting a lot more movement than I want. So hopefully my slip rings are working, and there's no way to tell. That's the bad thing.
They're only just a minute.
Yeah.
That's like about 35 pounds.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave this one a little bit higher, but we got it good and tight. The only thing you got left to do now is put water to it. What will happen is you get water leaking, and you don't have to take this out. This is just a little cover. It's a bleed hole, or it's a breather hole for the air, but you get water coming out of here if you don't have a good seal there.
Hey, there's two places that will leak out there. If it leaks out of that vent on the back of that relief valve, that tells you that screw that you put through that diaphragm, you didn't get it tightened. If it leaks around the threads or that cap nut, then it tells you you don't have that nut tightened up. That's the two things to look for.
And if it totally pukes its guts out, you tore the diaphragm while you put it back together. I've been lucky, I haven't done that. I mean, that's the reason when somebody says, oh, hey, it's an 860, you need to go work on it. Everybody's kind of like, son of a... Because they're over-engineered. There's so many fail points on them. That, like Richard said, if it's leaking out this vent hole, it's the screw. If it's leaking around the threads, it's this nut. If it's leaking from the sides, you pinch the diaphragm going back together. I mean, good unit. They work just as well as anything else. But given a choice, I'd never put one of these in because they're just a pain in the ass to work on. So hopefully, I've given you a few cues there. The biggest thing is you got to lay, for me, I got to lay them out in order. I mean, I have to have them step by step because there's so many parts I didn't even know the names for all of them. I lay them out and I put them back together in reverse order. Substitution is the only way I know to get them apart. And patience. That's the key thing. Well, that's all I've got for you guys. I think Richard might have